Hollywood has always thrived on spectacle, but few modern celebrity battles have spiraled into something quite as explosive as the legal war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. What began as a behind-the-scenes dispute on the set of It Ends With Us has now ballooned into a sprawling courtroom drama pulling in A-list actors, pop megastars, studio executives, PR professionals, and private conversations that were never meant to see the light of day. Everything escalated dramatically on January 20th, when more than 180 pages of newly unsealed court documents suddenly became public. The release gave the world an unfiltered look at what had been happening privately for months. Emails, text messages, group chats, and internal studio conversations that painted a picture of chaos, resentment, strategic maneuvering, and bitter accusations on both sides. Among the most jaw-dropping revelations were messages Blake Lively had sent to celebrity friends Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, asking them to watch her cut of the film and offer feedback. Other texts revealed conversations between Lively and Taylor Swift in which the singer harshly criticized Baldoni. Lively's co-star Jenny Slate described him as a clown and a false ally, while Baldoni's producing partner lashed out at Lively in equally brutal language. Even Sony executives were caught on record, using profanity-laced descriptions of both stars and criticizing marketing decisions tied to a movie centered on domestic violence. The fallout was immediate. For more than a year, the lawsuit had already dominated industry gossip, but the unsealed documents marked a turning point. Suddenly, Hollywood's most powerful circles were no longer spectators, they were characters in the story. One insider close to Affleck and Damon described the atmosphere as pure frustration, saying people felt dragged into a black hole of drama they never signed up for. Even those with little connection to the case worried about their names surfacing in public speculation. Texts revealed that Ryan Reynolds urged Damon and his wife to watch Lively's version of the film, and Damon responded politely, offering to help in any way he could. But sources later clarified that Damon and his wife were not particularly close to Lively and were uncomfortable seeing their private exchanges become public. Lively also reached out directly to Affleck, whom she had worked with years earlier, asking if he and Jennifer Lopez could screen her cut of the movie. In the email, she vented about Baldoni's leadership, criticizing his taste, ego, and what she described as chaotic behavior behind the scenes. Affleck reportedly never responded, being busy filming at the time, while Lopez was said to have been completely unaware of the request and eager to stay far from the controversy. As more celebrities surfaced in the correspondence, the damage widened. Actress and activist Jameela Jamil appeared in texts venting frustration over Lively's upbeat press tour for a movie dealing with domestic abuse. Though Jamil later said she was simply blowing off steam and felt offended by the marketing approach as someone who had experienced abuse herself, the words added another layer to the storm engulfing the case. What had once been a private dispute between two collaborators had now become an industry-wide nightmare. Public relations experts noted that stars were quietly distancing themselves from both sides, fearful of being dragged into the spectacle. According to insiders, even friends of Lively and Reynolds were choosing neutrality, keeping their heads down as the legal fight played out in public. From a legal standpoint, the release of the documents complicated everything. Lively had sued Baldoni in late 2024, alleging sexual harassment and a coordinated smear campaign against her. Baldoni denied the claims and filed a massive countersuit accusing her of extortion and defamation, though that filing was later dismissed. With a trial date approaching, the documents shifted public perception yet again. Some legal analysts argued that portions of the text strengthened Baldoni's defense, suggesting the conflict centered around creative control rather than misconduct. Others countered that the messages showed contemporaneous complaints from multiple people on set, reinforcing Lively's claims. Lawyers dissected every line, debating whether private venting between friends undermined or supported the formal allegations. Particularly sensitive were the exchanges between Lively and Taylor Swift. In one sequence of texts, Lively asked Swift to publicly back her script changes before the singer had even read them. In another, they discussed the strategic use of Swift's music in marketing the film's trailer, with Swift remarking that it could shift leverage in Lively's favor. To some observers, the messages suggested behind-the-scenes power plays. To others, they were nothing more than friends discussing publicity. Behind the scenes, however, the exposure reportedly strained Lively and Swift's once close relationship. Sources claimed Swift felt violated seeing her private messages released, even though they were submitted by Baldoni's legal team as evidence. Their communication reportedly dwindled, and insiders suggested Swift hesitated to include Lively in major personal events out of fear that it would ignite another media frenzy. Trust, they said, had been quietly eroded. Legal experts continued to clash publicly. Some civil rights attorneys insisted the documents bolstered Lively's allegations, pointing to complaints from multiple actresses and messages suggesting Baldoni was aware of concerns about his conduct early on. Baldoni's lawyers, meanwhile, rejected those interpretations, arguing that the evidence did not meet the legal standard for harassment and claiming that studio communications painted Lively in an unfavorable light. Public perception proved just as crucial as courtroom arguments. Crisis management specialists noted that while Baldoni appeared tightly lawyered up and controlled in his public posture, Lively's camp looked chaotic, filled with famous names suddenly caught in the blast radius. Analysts said Lively no longer occupied the moral high ground she once did in the public imagination, while Baldoni's reputation had also suffered after several actresses were revealed to have spoken negatively about his behavior. Privately, both families were said to be exhausted. Sources close to Baldoni claimed the actor and his inner circle were desperate for the ordeal to end, describing the emotional toll of reading cruel comments from people he believed were allies. Lively, meanwhile, was reportedly keeping a low profile, focusing on her children and leaning heavily on Reynolds, who appeared repeatedly in the documents himself, delivering scathing critiques of Baldoni in emails and texts. Reynolds later defended his anger publicly, saying he watched his wife endure what he believed was retaliation after standing up to harassment. Professionally, Lively arguably has more at stake. She claims the fallout cost her massive financial losses across film roles and her business ventures, seeking hundreds of millions in damages. Crisis PR experts suggested she faces the longer road to reputational recovery because she entered the scandal with a particularly polished public image. Rebuilding trust, they say, may take years. In the end, many industry insiders believe the case will not produce clear winners. Regardless of what a jury eventually decides, the reputational damage to everyone involved, including the many famous figures dragged into the narrative, may outweigh any courtroom victory. Public relations veterans summed it up bluntly: this is no longer a simple dispute about who is right or wrong. It has become a story about power, celebrity, influence, private grievances exploding on a public stage, and an entertainment industry forced to confront what happens when confidential conversations collide with fame at the highest level. In this war, as one expert put it, no one leaves clean.